Well, hello to the class of 1957. We're here today with Albab Ali. This is a unique opportunity to talk with a recipient of scholarship funds from the class of 1957 and to hear firsthand what that largesse means to him now that he's marching on in industry with the knowledge he has gained at Stevens. When you provide funds to the 1957 Endowed Scholarship, you know that you are helping a worthy student to continue their studies at Stevens, which is now a very prestigious institution that all alumni should be proud of having attended. But you lose contact after graduation and may not really understand what that giving means. Albab Ali is a 2016 graduate. He earned a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's in computer science. He received the Joseph Pignoni Endowed Scholarship, the Torrance Stevens Endowed Scholarship, and the class of 1957 Endowed Scholarship. He was on the dean's list for almost every semester. Albab is, like so many of us, a first-generation American whose parents came from Bangladesh and raised Albab in Pagoda, New Jersey. I know that place. He now works for Goldman Sachs as a technology analyst and software engineer. The class of 57 was privileged to provide some scholarship funds to Albab to help launch his career. But before we begin our meeting, I'd like to sort of set the stage a little bit here. With this scholarship recipient, we would like to share what Albab wrote to Stevens when he accepted the invitation to come in for this chat. Being a scholarship recipient motivated me to strive to do better and work harder. I chose to express my gratitude for these scholarships by dedicating myself to my studies. I thank all and am grateful to the donors, and I encourage others to contribute to Stevens to ensure that these scholarships are always available to eligible students. Well, how about enough of our babbling around here? We would like to hear from you about how your Stevens education has helped you in your starting a career, and also if any of your new business colleagues have voiced any opinions about Stevens. In short, did the education properly prepare you for real life?
Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. When asking this question, I think a lot of people they would look at a response where they focus on a more materialistic perspective, where they say, yes, of course, Stevens education, the classes on resume looks great, but I think one of the more key and valuable things that I noticed that really helped me, the Stevens education specifically, in the career that I have pursued, is the things that you don't see or you won't see on like the curriculum of any of the courses here at Stevens, and those are things like working with a team, teamwork, how to be a team leader, delegation, organization, time management is key. That's something I learned heavily here at Stevens. Prioritizing your tasks and your different responsibilities. These are things that you won't find in the curriculum here at Stevens, but from the education and the coursework and how it was structured here, I believe this is what was very valuable and has prepared me for the career that I have pursued at Goldman Sachs. And it's been 8 months, and I can tell you for sure it was the courses here at Stevens and that you won't see on the agendas, but it definitely helped out, and I'm very grateful.
When you started, were you the only newcomer on your team or in your department, or were there others that came at about the same time?
Yeah, so every year they do take in quite a bit number of students straight from college,
Okay.
talking about Goldman Sachs specifically. So there were plenty others that were with me from across, different colleges across the country. And of course, Goldman is very familiar with Stevens specifically because we're right here. The main offices are right near here, Hoboken, New Jersey. And I'll tell you this, that the people that are familiar with previous Stevens graduates at Goldman know that there's something special about these Stevens students. There was someone I worked with last year who was a Stevens graduate from Goldman, and there were great things he said about the other Stevens graduate, and that's why they maintain this relationship between Stevens, because they know we have they recruit one of the some of the top students at Goldman, and from it you see some things, seeing all these other students that come into Goldman as well, along with myself. I noticed that there were some things that of course that I may not have gotten here at Stevens that they have received in their schools, but at the same time you see how valuable Stevens truly was, from stuff that you benefited that you saw that they really didn't benefit from their respective schools. So yeah, that's why again Stevens is very unique in that aspect.
And you're working side by side with some of these new graduates?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
There are a couple I work with.
Great. So, I mean, it's safe to say that you, coming from Stevens, you more can more than hold your own with them.
No doubt, of course. Coming from Stevens, like I said, those different items and tasks that learn being here at Stevens, you show naturally you're more of a leader. You're seen more of a leader from amongst these, and I'm confident to say that being at Goldman so far for the past 8 months, you can see the difference that the Stevens education has versus those from outside. You're just naturally a leader, and that's why again I really value spending my time here at Stevens.
What made you decide to go to Stevens in the first place?
Well, if I like to be honest, first of all, my brother actually graduated a couple years before me, and he was going to Stevens while I was still in high school, and he actually enrolled in the co-op program, and I was still in high school when he was about 3 years in already at Stevens, so he already had gone through multiple co-ops and internships. So while he was at Stevens, I noticed he was able to expand his network, his experience from all the connections that Stevens had in relationship with different companies. So he worked with Navair to Barclays, which he's now a full-time employee of. So me seeing that, looking up to my brother, I noticed that Stevens was a great place to have connections, and it just came down to like a few schools versus Stevens, and seeing that my brother was able to gain so much experience, the great networking abilities, and how Stevens does an excellent job of ensuring that every student graduates with some full-time job, or they have internships while they're here at Stevens. That was one of the major factors of what made me decide to eventually attend Stevens and graduate.
What did you do for a senior project when you?
When I was here at senior project, we kind of were being a very bit optimistic, my team and I, but we reached to try and do essentially wireless charging. So my undergraduate was in electrical engineering, so we focused on my senior design group. We looked into being able to use Wi-Fi to charge your phone, and essentially we came up short. We figured that's a very high goal, so we sort of went down, and we decided to instead try to use Wi-Fi to light up an LED, just a simple LED, and we noticed that we were actually able to get some power out. It wasn't enough to light up the LED, but it was the fact that we were able to actually get power just straight from the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
We felt accomplished, and there's actually while we were doing the project, we noticed there was one other company that's still trying to be able to wirelessly charge your phone, but our senior project essentially focused on there's Wi-Fi everywhere now, and basically our focus was if we can just use that Wi-Fi to get power, that in itself would be an accomplishment, and that's what we focused on, which we did. We got a slight bit of power, but we came up short. But that was our focus of our senior project.
Okay. One of the, just as that you're indicating by the way you're speaking here,
Mm-hmm.
that we all like to make a difference in the things we do, and this one kind of makes a turn in the sense that whether you had any comments as to the difference the class of 57 scholarship made to you when you were here, and whether you had any comments about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, every year when you're here at Stevens, you look at the financial aid summary and you see, the list of different scholarships you have, or just what money you're being provided and how much you have to pay. I'll tell you this, like, just mentally looking at and seeing that there's a scholarship from a previous class of 1957 for me specifically, that in itself is just such a boost and gives so much motivation that, your efforts here, your studies here at Stevens, it's not being overlooked. Others are noticing it. And that in itself, just gets me even more motivated to further continue my education and just work even harder to finish it off. So when I started receiving when I was blessed to and honored to receive the class of 1957 scholarship, I was encouraged even more to pursue further studies, and as a result, that's where I decided to not only graduate with the bachelor's, but I pursued even my master's degree, and to be able to finish that within the 4 years and graduate with that as well. So again, the class of 1957 scholarship was a great motivation for me to continue my studies, and that's why it laid the foundation for me to this journey that I took here with my young career.
That's very interesting because most people think, that it's a money factor,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, it is. However, the real factor is one that it makes you strive and push harder because someone is recognizing that they're making an investment in you.
Exactly.
Well, it appears that our investment has paid off very well. And the other thing which I didn't know was this is a family thing with you and your brother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my brother, he graduated 2 years before me,
Hmm.
class of 2010, and actually I have a younger brother as well. I'm hoping that when his time comes, he's a sophomore right now in high school, but I'm hoping when his time comes that he'll also be here and joining the Stevens family.
Well, maybe we should interview your mother and father to find out what they did to
Right.
bring forth such three terrific students,
Yeah. Um, well, I'm pausing here a bit because I'm looking at the questions that we had down, and we sort of got them answered. That's
Off script, that you're satisfied with, we've got the information we want, right?
yeah. But maybe you can, we're trying to find out about you, and I guess as you, we said before we came in here, we're also working on trying to persuade some of our fellow classmates, those that have given to keep on giving, and those who, for one reason or another, have not seen fit to give, that it would be nice if they got with the program.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say about that? What would you say to members of our class or members of your own class?
Yeah.
to what they ought to be doing when somebody approaches them about making contributions to Stevens.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely what I would say is sort of reiterating what I was saying before, was that, and it was mentioned that, it's sort of an investment that they would be making. And of course, you could look at it from a financial perspective and say, yes, now my tuition for this semester is being covered of this much portion and whatnot. But I think going back to the other perspective, which is, mentally it's a great encouragement, and it motivates you to continue doing more. And what I would tell, the class of 1957 and other members, or even other classes, to encourage donate is because, you lay the foundation for that student to be able to pursue their career be able to continue the education. And Stephen's a great university as is. Can benefit from being able to continue maintaining their connections with all these other big companies. And I've been honored and blessed to be able to pursue it and land an opportunity at Goldman Sachs, who I've been with for 8 months. So again, just to reiterate and emphasize even more to the class of 1957, is that you're making an investment on a student who will work hard and know that there's someone out there recognizing their efforts and their studies, and just that in itself will be enough for the student to continue and further pursue their studies and work even harder. And one day, myself or any other students that would be benefiting from this generosity will themselves be sitting on this side of the table interviewing another student and asking the same questions. And I hope myself one day to be able to be part of that, to help other eligible students to be able to take part in this generosity that the class of 1957 has blessed with me. So again, I'm very honored, and thank you guys very much.
Well, you're more than welcome, and we're really happy to see you here today.
Thank you very much.
Definitely. And so we would like to thank you for taking time to visit with us, and most importantly for your candid comments. I can say personally, the attitude and the achievements that you've had give me a brighter outlook on the future of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've done an excellent job to date, and keep it up. We sincerely hope that our classmates listen carefully and participate in the future growth of the class of 1957 endowed scholarship. We also encourage the members of the class of 57 to please come to the 60th reunion and join in the fun of remembrance. It is important to the well-being of all of us. Thank you.